I'll just kind of get things started. First, I'm really excited to have you all on the line, obviously on the Zoom, as we've all gotten used to it. And really thought this might be helpful to put this together and also record it for folks that couldn't make today, so that folks kind of have an understanding of what's involved with the annual campaign. Sometimes I think you hear about it, you don't really know what it is, and like, okay, I think that's a fundraising campaign, but I'm not really sure whether it's something I want to be involved in or not. So I'm happy to just kind of share a little bit more about it. So I'm Julie Hampton. I'm on the board of directors for the Wake County Boys and Girls Clubs. Have been on the board now for, I don't know, Ralph would know better than I would. It's probably like 7 or 8 years. Actually got my start working with the Boys and Girls Clubs in the annual campaign. And at the time I was an associate, I believe, yes, an associate at Pointer Sproul. And my boss, the managing partner, was on the board, and he asked me if I'd be interested in doing a team for the annual campaign. And so I kind of got started that way, and certainly came to know the organization that way, and really just, very much empowered by the mission and what we're doing to help kids in Wake County and the huge need there. So that's sort of how I got involved. I would say that's actually how a lot of board members involved with the campaign. So you may hear some similar stories, but anyway, just, wanted to kind of kick things off. I'm leading the annual campaign this year. We have a really big goal ahead of us. We are looking, and not to hopefully this won't seem daunting. It seems a little daunting to me, but every year we have a big goal, and every year we certainly managed with the community support to get there. But this year we're looking to raise $1.4 million. And that funding is pretty critical for a lot of the programs we're putting in place. We're doing a whole lot of expanding in the next year. You may hear a little bit about that when John goes through his discussions about what we're doing at the clubs. But certainly, as Wake County grows, so do the Boys and Girls Clubs, and so do the needs to serve these kids. So with that said, I think, what we're looking to do with this campaign is obviously, it's twofold. It's one, obviously, to raise money. That's sort of the big goal. But another thing we're looking to do is really to extend our reach and to get people aware of what we're doing, right? So really extending into the community, making sure people know what good the Boys and Girls Clubs are doing, who we're serving, why it's so important, all of those things. So with that said, I think I can turn it over to John, or Ralph, one of you, to talk a little bit more about the clubs and what we do kind of, day in, day out. And if you think of something I've missed, let me know.
Julie, did you want to take a minute and let people say hi? So if we don't know each other.
Yeah, no, that's great, actually, because we've got some new folks on the line. I see some folks have joined since we had. So yeah, that's fine. I think that'll be great if everyone wants to kind of just, it's always interesting in a virtual environment.
Looking at my screen, I'll just go from left to right and top to bottom. There's Ralph. So Ralph, why don't you make sure everybody knows you?
Yes, and again, good morning. My name is Ralph Capps, and I've got the honor of being the executive director of the Boys and Girls Clubs here in Wake County. And I certainly appreciate you being with us this morning. Thank you.
And I'm John Welch. I'm the Vice President of Resource Development and Marketing for the Boys and Girls Clubs. And like Ralph said, we are really appreciative that you're here. Success is a function of people getting involved and more people getting involved. And so we're glad to see some fresh faces, and we're glad to see some returning faces. And it's going to be a great campaign thanks to your volunteerism and help. Next on my screen is Matt.
Good morning, everyone. So Matt Ludwig, I'm with PNC Bank here in downtown Raleigh, but been involved with the Boys and Girls Clubs for coming up on 10 years now, and started out in the annual campaign, very similar to Julie, but this was about 5 years ago, something like that, and then recently joined the board of directors as of early 2022. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Matt. Next is Hunter.
Hi, I'm Hunter Brackett. I'm serving as co-chair of the campaign this year, along helping out Julie, and so I will be heading up the campaign next year. I joined the board in 2019 and got involved initially as a mentor in the Youth of the Year program. So did that for a little while, then joined the annual campaign and have been on the board since 2019.
Thanks, Hunter. Next on mine is Ned.
Hey everybody, my name is Ned Archer. Like other people on this call, I got introduced to the Boys and Girls Club annual campaign through somebody at work where I work with Marsh McLennan Agency. Last year was my first year volunteering on the campaign, and this year I'm excited to be back and helping out with the steering committee. So looking forward to meeting you all, and let me know if I can be helpful in any way.
We're glad you came back, Ned. I see next is Joe.
Yes, my name's Joe Lucas. I'm Director of Business Development for RSM, and this is my first involvement with the Boys and Girl Club, and look forward to working with you guys.
Glad you're here, Joe. Next is Ryan.
Hi, good morning. Ryan Starks with Century Business Consulting. New to the Raleigh area, a little over a year ago. My wife and I moved down as part of our firm's expansion. And I've always been familiar with Boys and Girls Club and was introduced to the opportunity to get involved, and excited to do that and help this great cause.
Welcome to town, Ryan. All the people like yourselves that are moving to this area are part of the reason that we think that the clubs can succeed in expanding. There's so many new people coming to town. There's more need, but there's also more opportunity. We're glad you're here. Olivia?
Hi, yes, I'm Olivia Moody. I'm from the Raleigh area. I work at Cherry Beckert. I was introduced to the Boys and Girls Club from Jessica Simmons, and I'm very happy to be here.
We're glad that you're here too. And then it's Julie. You've heard from Julie. I see Madison's name. Madison, I don't know if you're going to talk. Are you there to say hi? Oh, there you are.
Sorry. Good morning. I'm Madison Reed. I'm the grants manager.
That's our leap year baby. And then Julie, and I see Mark. Do you want to say hi, Mark? Maybe he's not there yet. He's almost there. Good enough. Well, it's great to have all of you here, like Julie said. And I'm just going to take a minute and kind of go through people. Some people like to hear what they're going to learn, and some people like to see what they're going to learn. So I'll put a screen up and share some information and also speak to it, just to give you a little background about the clubs. Where's my share screen? There it is. So Boys and Girls Clubs in Wake County, our mission is to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. That's our mission statement. And it's not paging down. Try that. Well, I'll do it that way. We have currently 7 locations in Wake County. They are 3 of them on Raleigh Boulevard, the Boys Club, the Girls Club, and the Teen Center. We have a club we call the Brentwood Club on New Hope Church Road in Raleigh. There's a club at the Washington Elementary School in downtown Raleigh. And there are clubs in Wake Forest and Zebulon. This is definitely a year of growth for us, which is why the campaign becomes even more important. There's a club going to open in a mobile home community called Parish Manor, which is sort of, it's a Raleigh address, but it's kind of Garner. And there's some 300 or 400 kids that get off the bus in that mobile home community every day, looking for something wholesome and healthy to do. And so that club is being constructed by the owner of the community, and he's going to toss us the keys and ask us to start a club. And we think that'll all happen in time to start summer programming at the Parish Manor Club. We're also looking at an opportunity, we hope, to expand the Brentwood Club, because it's in a little like 5,000 square foot storefront right now on New Hope Church Road. And we're looking at an opportunity to acquire a larger facility, currently doing due diligence on that. But if we do that, it's a much larger facility and would allow us to serve a lot more kids. Sorry, my page down button's not working. There we go. So if you are not familiar with our programming, the way that we serve kids is through 6 key areas, and Boys and Girls Clubs of America sort of stipulates this, and you see it put into play at the local level by local clubs. It's what they call a federated model. So each club is independent in the sense that Ralph's in charge of our organization. We have a board that's in charge of our organization, and we are independent from BGCA, but they do provide a lot of resources, and that includes oftentimes a framework by which to explain what we're trying to achieve, and that's what you see in front of you now: academics, art, character and leadership, health and wellness, sports and recreation, and workforce readiness are sort of the key areas that we would describe now that Boys and Girls Clubs are trying to use to make a difference in children's lives and give them better futures. Every day at the clubs, if you haven't been to one, we invite you out for a tour. Every day at the clubs starts with Power Hour. The pictures in front of you here, this is a throwback a little bit to a year or two ago when we were masked up all the time. And at that point in time, you don't see any adults in these pictures only because it was during that period of time of COVID. But normally, one of the ways that people love to volunteer at the clubs is to come in and work directly with children to help them with their homework, help them with academic challenges, or to do art programs. And you'll see some photos of that coming up. But every day starts with Power Hour. Ralph has a great line. He says, no kid ever said, I want to go get my character built. And it's true. You got to do things that kids are attracted to, whether that's sports or arts or music or something else. And then when you get them in the door, you work them with the other stuff that's really important, even though they're not so excited about it, such as academics or programs to build leadership skills and so on like that. It's common. We have partners throughout the entire community. It's common to have guest speakers come in right here. I think this is probably the Wake Forest Club, but I'm not sure. You can see that the local law enforcement is in there. And that's a common thing to have them come in and develop relationships with kids for a couple of probably obvious reasons. One of them would be to drive home the lessons about healthy behaviors and unhealthy behaviors, things that can affect your life both positively and negatively that the police have expertise with, but also to help develop relationships between police and kids. If you consider that many of the kids we serve are coming from communities where the relationship with police might not be what it could be, and that's healthy for them as well to have those relationships and to build that trust. Brain games, as we call them. It's common for kids to get together once they get to the clubs after they're done with the homework and just play and be kids. And sometimes those look like what you see here, figuring out puzzles or playing chess. Sometimes it's sports. Here's a picture of some kids who are doing art. Every one of our clubs has an art room, and it's a really big part of what kids enjoy doing. And volunteers will frequently come in and if they have ideas on art projects that they can work with the kids on, that's a lot of fun. There are competitions, and sometimes our kids win competitions. They go all the way to the national level, and we can show you photos of that if you come in on a tour. Sports is a big deal. It's what attracts a lot of kids to come into the club in the first place, but obviously it's also a really healthy activity for kids. We want them to be well fed, so every kid gets a meal every day. And in some cases that we're talking about families where that meal might not have been assured at home. So we're happy to make sure they get snacks and meals, but also that they get healthy activities. If it's nice outside, otherwise they can play. They can do it outside. Otherwise they can play in the gym inside. Every facility has a gymnasium, and they do all sorts of games, every kind of sport you can imagine. Club members, we have data to support this. Club members have higher grades than youth nationally who are not club members, and we work to collect at least 20% of our kids' report cards each year in order to track data on this. And because of the academic programs and the other programs that help kids with their schoolwork, Boys and Girls Club kids tend to perform better in school than kids who are not members of the Boys and Girls Club. Our kids are much more likely to graduate from high school with a plan, and that's one of our big goals. Is when a child is about to graduate from high school and thus age out of the clubs, that they have something next in mind, and that could be a 4-year college degree, it could be a 2-year degree, it could be military, it could be a trade school, whatever is right for that individual, but to make sure that they have a plan and something next. Oops, I skipped one. I mentioned this briefly a moment ago. Club teams are far more likely than kids nationally who are not club members to abstain from health risk behaviors, such as use of prescription pills or alcohol or cigarettes or marijuana, gang involvement, and other kinds of risky behaviors like that. club kids are much more likely to follow guidance with regard to nutrition, and including eating their fruits and vegetables. In addition, kids won't eat junk food mostly, but we have a full-time professional nutritionist on staff who runs programs that teach kids the difference it can make if you eat well, eat good stuff in addition to the bad stuff, or just don't eat the bad stuff. Our kids are known to volunteer much more regularly than kids nationally. As I mentioned, there are leadership programs, and these leadership programs encourage youth to get involved in their communities in whatever way makes sense to them, and ultimately to become involved, responsible citizens. And there's just a few more pictures of our kids, some of them still with masks on. That tagline down below is one that we use frequently: whatever it takes to build great futures. That's what we're here for. We're committed to doing whatever it takes to help these kids, in many cases, to break a cycle that families might have been tied up in for generations, and to have great futures because they learned to show up on time, look you in the eye, do the work, and that they put them on a track toward a successful academic and professional career. So that's what we do. That's what you're involved in. Are there any questions about the Boys and Girls Clubs? Anything at all is game. And Mark, I see you got on here. We'd love you to introduce yourself and say hi.
Sure. I'm Mark Lee. I'm president of Baker Roofing Company, and I have been involved with the Boys and Girls Club probably approaching 20 years. Prentice Baker recruited me to the campership drive many years ago, and I've been involved ever since. So thank you, John. I'm sorry I had trouble with my Zoom on my phone, but I'm here now.
We're glad you're here now, Mark. Thanks. So that's a quick once over on Boys and Girls Clubs. Ralph knows it a lot better than I do, and he might want to add something, or you all might have questions, or if you're more experienced with the clubs and you think of something that is powerful that ought to get mentioned about what the clubs do, chime in. And if not, Julie, can I hand it back to you?
Sure. Yeah, so I think that was a great overview, and I just realized I turned my video off, not that I need it on, but in any event, no, I really appreciate that. It's a great overview. I think, what's really strikes me is, we meet these kids where they are, and we provide a lot of the resource, and it's so much for these kids is just, I think everyone has an appreciation. It's taking an interest in them, right? And showing them that we care. And this is, is building those relationships. And that's what sets them up, I think, truly for success. The programs are amazing, and there's so much that we do. But I think, at the heart of it, and I think everyone can sort of identify, at least I know I can personally, that, kind of like in life, so much of who you become is related to what someone else did for you along the way, right? So whether it was a community leader, your parents, someone from your church, or something, it's someone took an interest in you and sort of helped you to believe in yourselves. And I think that's what we really do for these kids, is that we are able to engage with them and show them that they are capable of doing things, right? And just, give them that confidence and that desire to succeed. And that's really pretty amazing. So with that said, I think next on the agenda was actually, we were going to talk briefly with Matt and Mark, just to kind of share like a little bit about, what you've enjoyed about being involved in the annual campaign and with the clubs. And I know, Matt, you've kind of got some good stories from you've done a lot more of the actual in-club volunteering as well as the annual campaign. So if you just want to share a little bit, and then after you're done, you can pass it to for his thoughts and what he's enjoyed in this experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Julie. And I think, so just a little bit more background. I know I shared I've been involved in the clubs for coming up on 10 years now, but that all started with volunteering. I think I was just like everybody else. After school, or after you graduate from college, you look for something more than just doing the same old with work and friends and all that, and ended up finding the club. And I forget exactly how I did that, but I think it was one of my coworkers introduced me. So that turned into weekly volunteering over the past 10 years or so. I'm actually going today to play dodgeball with the kids, and do that type of stuff. So I'd say the first thing I would suggest, if you can, go out to the club and actually see find out what is actually motivating what we're doing here. Truly are just amazing kids. They all have really, really cool stories. They're hardworking. They're just a joy to be around. So if you haven't been out to the club, definitely come out. You're welcome to come join me at the boys club for dodgeball if that's your thing, or if you just want to come and do art or whatever it is. There's a million different things that you can do to engage the kids and have a great time. So I think it makes it more meaningful. But over the last 10 years, I've volunteered, and then that led to other opportunities, which eventually started out with Thad Woodard inviting me to join the annual campaign. So got involved there over the past 4 or 5 years, and really it's just been a great way to increase my impact on helping these kids, whether they know it or not. We're doing amazing things for them, and it just gives them the opportunities that they have. So if this is your first time fundraising, don't be whelmed by it. I think it just starts with creating your website, getting out there, and really just reaching out to everyone. Because I know, Ryan, you mentioned that you're very familiar with the clubs. Everybody has heard of a Boys and Girls Club, whether they've gone to it in Raleigh or they've gone to it in Pittsburgh or wherever around the country. They're everywhere. So don't be afraid to ask those people if they want to help out the Boys Club in Raleigh. So yeah, that's just kind of my background, but appreciate you all being here and excited to get to meet you at some point. And is there anything I missed? If not, I'll pass it to Mark.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Mine's a little bit different. I have not spent a tremendous amount of time volunteering in the club, but I have a passion for the club, and the reason for it is I believe that kids, young people, do best when they're busy, when they're having fun, and they're building self-esteem. And I think there's a lot of peer pressure and other things going on for young people. And it's been my experience through the years that the club does a tremendous job of helping young people stay busy, having fun, and building their self-esteem. And I've witnessed that through some events like Youth of the Year, and listening to the 5 to 10 minute speeches about what the club has meant to young people over the various clubs. I rarely get through that presentation without having a tear come in the corner of my eye about some of the stories some of the things that young people go through. And I often reflect on how blessed I am to have the circumstances that I had growing up, and coming to the conclusion that not everybody has had that. And what can I do to help people have a better experience? The same thing with the Breakfast of Champions. That is a powerful thing to hear some speakers and past participants in the club speak. Lavelle is one that comes to my mind. He's the coach of a basketball team here locally, and what the club has meant to him has been very moving to me when I've heard him speak over the years. And then the Christmas program is just, I've been able to witness the joy that the young people have in presenting, and the preparation that they put into being ready for that. And then also how well they speak, how their manners. The club is doing a tremendous job of developing young people in many aspects, giving them opportunities with education, giving them opportunities with sports, art, speaking, public speaking, prepping for college, and even going so far as working close to internships or seeing what other businesses are doing, so they can look at career development opportunities. So I'm passionate about the club. I enjoy raising money for the club, and trying to introduce people to what we do by attending these different events. And it all started with being asked to participate in what used to be called the Camper Strip Drive, which is now Great Futures Campaign, by my mentor, Prentice Baker. And I did not know much about the club at that time, but I have grown over the years to understand in great detail how it works. And I'm thankful to have all of you on the phone today talking about it, willing to give your time and effort into raising money for the club. And if I can be of any help to you, or if you ever like to talk to me about it, I'd be happy to assist.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I certainly appreciate you and Matt being willing to talk a little bit about your experience. I think so many folks have gotten involved with the clubs through the annual campaign, formerly known as the Campership Drive. And, it's funny, it's interesting to see where that's led. I mean, I know, Mark, you were involved as board chair. Was it last year? Maybe I get mixed up on who's what year, but you've certainly gotten introduced one way and then stayed so involved. And also when you mentioned the workforce readiness, which is huge, I think you helped put together some opportunities for kids last summer to go out to Baker Roofing and you kind of see what that looked like, right? And what a career in a trade like that would be. And I just think it's great to be able to expose kids to different things. And I will say, the other piece of this is, getting exposed to the Boys and Girls Clubs and learning more. The other kind of benefit for us personally, I think, is, not only do we get to have an opportunity to really, raise money and impact the lives of these kids, but I feel like I've actually gotten to know a lot of people through that process too, that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten to know, different people in the community, certainly different board members, and because the campaign does attract a lot of people in the community to, who have supported it and who continue to support it. So I just throw that out there as also being something that we've really strived to create a sense of community around it. And we have some campaign events, which we'll kind of get into next, I think. Did anyone have any questions or anything thus far for anyone? I don't want to stifle any conversation.
Julie, I'll just add too that you're correct. I've made a lot of friends in the process, and even business partners in some respects. There's people on the board of directors that I do business with on a personal level. So it is a good program all the way around. It helps you personally as well as the young people.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Okay, so I guess at this point, we were going to sort of talk a little bit about sort of what we have going on with the campaign and what's sort of next up for those of you that hopefully will volunteer and join. This is sort of the info session, but next week we actually have a couple of campaign training events where we get sort of a little bit more into the detail about how you might go about your campaign and raising funds, right? And also sort of the tools that we have. For this particular session, I think John and I had just talked about maybe doing an overview of these. So next week, for anyone who wants to join the campaign, which we hope you all will, there are two training events. I believe there's one on Tuesday, the March 7th at 8 at the Teen Center, and then one on Thursday, March 9th at noon. So there's a early morning and a lunchtime option. Both of them are at the Teen Center, and certainly we will provide a little more detail as to what to do, like with respect to the online tools and all of that. And if you can't get to one of these training sessions, I mean, John and I are obviously here, and we're happy to kind of walk you through some of that as well. But we just go ahead and put those out there for folks because we think it's helpful. Let's see what else John, did I miss anything with that? Let's see. Yeah, I guess so we could talk a little bit about, I know Matt mentioned the website too. So we do have, some people like to use the website to raise money. I think it's very easy. You basically build your own personal website through this Raisin platform, and then you can, send emails to your contacts and friends requesting that, they consider making a donation. You can send them stories and videos. There's a lot of good content that gets linked on that. So that's one way to go about it. Obviously you don't have to utilize that. We still have board members who like to get the pledge cards and, go see people in person, which is, I think, a good way to go about it as well. So it's really, there are different options for how you want to go about it. And so that's what I would highlight there. We try to support you in whatever your efforts are. I know that Some teams do social events. Like, I know Robert Brown has had tremendous success with a party he does, and he raises money with the actual party, and it's been great. He's been doing it for years. And then I think we've had some corporate teams, so like some, I guess accounting firms and banks and the like, who have done fundraising events to encourage a little competition among their employees and such. So I guess, that there are different ways to go about it. And, historically, when I first started, one of the ways that teams went about it was you would, as a community volunteer, you would often have other people who volunteered with you. And so it was kind of this trickle down effect of, I would have a team, and then I'd have a few people on my team, and everyone would be sort of asking their contacts to consider making donations. So that's another sort of, I guess, strategy about it. But we do ask you to, make a commitment to trying to fundraise as much as you can. Obviously, I think trying to think through what the number was that we suggest. We don't want anyone to not participate because the number seems like it's too much. But I think we had maybe John, is it 2,500 that maybe we suggest as a community volunteer that you shoot to raise? I mean, obviously, we want your support. We're not trying to, suggest that that's a hard and fast rule. So, but we'd certainly like everyone to shoot for it.
Yeah, I think that's the number the committee kind of kicked around as being, we want to assure you it's not 10,000, although that would be awesome. And if it's 100 or 500, great, you did something positive and you're helping some kids out. But at some point, a lot of people would maybe ask, well, what's an approximate target that I should be shooting for? And we did kick around 2,000 or 2,500.
And we do recognize at the end of the campaign, so I think I mentioned some of the campaign events. So the kickoff event for this campaign is going to be March 15th. And if for no other reason than the kickoff event, you should join the campaign, because we're really excited about our kickoff event. We're doing it at 5:30 on March 15th. So it's an after work event, and I'll just go ahead and share the location. We're doing it at the Eastern, which is in North Hills, and it's it's one of the high rises there, and they've got a lounge lobby area up at the very top. It is gorgeous. John and Hunter and I went and looked at the space last week. I think what they say was like the elevation in Raleigh or Wake County, or I think they've got a note out there, which is really neat. So we're going to do the kickoff event there, where we'll have obviously annual campaign volunteers, the board, friends of the clubs, kind of there to officially get the campaign underway. So that'll be a really exciting event. And then we do a mid-campaign event, and that's usually, I think it's into April. I think Jessica Simmons, actually, who I know we've got someone from Cherry Becker, but I think she's actually kind of leading that up, working on that mid-campaign social. And then at the end of the campaign, which is usually, I think it's in the middle of June, maybe, we do a finale. And that's where we obviously we cheer. We're so excited. We've raised that $1.4 million, and we've all worked really hard. And so I think it's kind of give ourselves a little pat on the back at the time. And obviously we recognize those whose efforts really went above and beyond. So we do some awards for, folks that raised the most, or who the most community volunteers, those kinds of things. So that's kind of the overview. I'm sure I've missed something, but
Julie, not to cut you off, I apologize for being a little premature in mentioning the website and everything, but for those of you sitting there thinking, oh boy, I don't know how to make a website, the Boys Club does a phenomenal job of giving you every resource. It's just a couple clicks and you've got your own website. I am in no world a tech junkie or anything like that knows how to do any of that. That's way over my head. But yeah, truly, whatever you're looking for in the form of resources to help you impact more kids, the clubs do a phenomenal job in giving you those resources. If we don't have it, somebody will help you get there. And coming from somebody that was new to fundraising, it's not as daunting as you would think. It really just starts with the first ask, and then you start getting a snowball effect, and from there it becomes pretty fun. So sorry for chiming in there. Sorry for being a little premature on the website stuff.
No, that's great. That's great. I appreciate any extra context discussion anyone wants to share. Does anyone have any questions or anything? I mean, you can always reach out to us individually as well. You don't have to, ask them here, but if anything comes up, certainly feel free.
I'll be in
John
touch
or
with
Ralph.
Julie, I'll be in touch with everybody here just to make sure that you have my contact information. And if you need help with the website, or if you need to reach somebody on the planning committee, Julie or Hunter or anything else, you can always go through me or Madison, and we'll make sure you get what you need. Our job is to support you and make sure you're as comfortable and successful as possible in this.
Awesome.
If any questions, I'm happy to be a resource. So feel free to reach out to John. He can share my cell phone, and happy to answer any calls or whatever you need. I'm here to help.
Julie, I would just say, again, I've had the honor of working in this organization for a number of years, and I can tell you that this is a very generous community, and people really do want to help these kids through the Boys and Girls Clubs. Sometimes they just don't know exactly how to do it, but when you're out there and you're asking for their help, you're really making that easier for them and giving them an opportunity to do it and to be a part of it. And one of the great things about this campaign is, we're not going out looking to somebody to give us that $1.4 million in one scoop or whatever. We're really trying to get lots of people giving to us in this campaign. The amount they give is not as important as the fact that they're giving and are being a part of this, because as they give, they're going to get more interested. They want to know more about the club and so forth. So it really does work to really strengthen the entire organization. So our community volunteers in this campaign play a very critical role in its success, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I would agree 100%. Community volunteers are critical. Okay. Well, if that's it, I think we can let everyone go a little early. And just reach out if you have any questions. Hope to see you all next week at the trainings, and feel free to reach out if you need anything. Thank you for your time.
We're sure glad y'all joined us.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.